So much to talk about today, guys. There's a lot that has happened in the media that we would like to speak about, as well as SAA taking on India A. We're going to be talking about both. We're going to be talking about, first and foremost, Faf du Plessis and his recent comments at the T10, and obviously to ESPN Cricinfo. He had a conversation and he revealed some things that we speculated about, as well as confirmed with you guys on what we thought was the case with Faf du Plessis. Now, we're going to be chatting about that after the show, like during the show. And the first things first, I want to give my opinion on the matter. For a very long time, I've been speaking about how we needed to bring Faf back into the white ball arena. Now, Faf's recent comments and Faf's recent thought process has made me maybe backtrack a little bit on this, even though I really want him in the side and I really want him in the team. Ultimately, he said that he's on a different journey now. So I think that we should respect his decision and just move on and try to find someone next. But we'll chat about it on today's show. We're going to be discussing with you guys too to see what you have to say. We'll also be chatting about SAA and what has happened on day 2 of the second unofficial test. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please click that notification bell, click subscribe for all future videos. That's how you'll get your updates on YouTube. But don't forget to also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Monthly. You get every single issue 100% free, including the latest issue, which is in the description. There's a link. Just click on that link and it will take you straight to the page that allows you to subscribe. So, without further ado, let's get straight into today's. Very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host Khalid. This is my co-host Aticha. And today we're going to be discussing what has been in the news recently, as well as the SAA versus India A match. So first and foremost, first up, it's Faf du Plessis' comments. Now, he was seen speaking on ESPN Cricinfo in a video about South Africa and his reasons that or where he stands with South African currently. Now, Aditya put a little piece together early on the website that said that he's basically on a different journey now. After he didn't represent South Africa and wasn't allowed to represent South Africa in the recent T20 World Cup. He did play in the T20s against England, and he planned to play in the World Cup. But the challenge was to convince Cricket South Africa to find middle ground between him still playing overseas leagues as well as being available for South Africa. And that was the trick. And they didn't find common ground over there. And that was basically the reason. So my understanding of the situation, Aditya, and you can give us a quick update and summary of the whole video as well if you want to. But my understanding of this is that basically Cricket South Africa wanted Faf to take part in other series and other tours like Pakistan and West Indies and other tours leading up to the World Cup before actually selecting him in the World Cup squad. Whereas Faf had a lot of overseas commitments to play in other tournaments. And I feel that he was wanting some sort of international contract or some sort of T20 contract so that he could play and still get paid for South Africa, still get paid because he'd be giving up his opportunity to get paid from all around the world to play for South Africa. So that is my understanding of the situation. Watching the video from your part and in your summary, what is your thoughts on this when this news broke?
Look, I think that's a subject that we can probably talk about for hours, but there is a cricketing facet to it, and there is a non-cricketing facet to it. From a cricketing point of view, there is an obvious benefit to be playing overseas leagues. There's no doubt about it, and at some point, I think every board in the world has to recognize that players understand that they've got a short shelf life in on the international circuit or as professional cricketers, and at some point they are going to want to uh, make the most of these overseas leagues. And in South Africa's case, I think Faf du Plessis is probably, well, he's been South Africa's most committed cricketer through a period of time. You know, he was probably the last of that golden era of cricketers, and then he took he took South Africa through a period of transition, and he almost sort of shepherded that on his own. You know, so he's given 10 of his best years to South Africa, and now towards the end of his career, the twilight of his career, he wants to make the most of the financial incentives that overseas leagues offer him, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. You know, particularly in South Africa, where unfortunately the rand is a relatively weak currency in comparison to the pound and the dollar, and therefore it's a perfectly reasonable argument for him to want to play in those leagues. The other thing is that you look at what England did in 2015, pre 2015, and funnily enough, Owen Morgan had come out with an interview a while ago on ESPN Cricinfo where he revealed that in 2013, when he was out of the Test squad, Andy Flower, then the coach of England, said to him that if you want to get back into the Test squad, you'll have to give up your IPL summer, come back to England, play the county, and then get back into the Test team. And Owen Morgan said to him flat out that I've learned more in one season of the IPL than I have learned in 4 years of county cricket. So thank you very much, but I'm not going to take up your offer. I'm going to go play the IPL. So I think that's an indication of how players perceive the IPL. And post 2015, since Andrew Strauss took over the directorship of the ECB, they've actively encouraged players to play in the IPL and other overseas leagues, and that has reaped benefits. You know, the England white ball team is one that is almost setting benchmarks now, and teams aspire to play like them. You know, so there's no doubt that there is a cricket benefit to it too, and Cricket South Africa are going to have to find a way to balance it, because in time you can't always make players choose between country and club. You know, at some point you have to give them that flexibility, and also sort of recognize that they may miss out on a couple of country assignments for the club, but playing club assignments as overseas players will make them play better for the country. So at some point you have to sort of strike that balance, you know, so that the team becomes stronger. Because even Aiden Markram has got some taste of the IPL now, and you know, you don't want to put him in that difficult position of having to choose between country and club all the time.
Yeah, well, for me personally, I don't think there's a choice. Country takes preference over anything in my view, and no matter what the situation is, playing for your country should be the highest possible honor. I can understand that with Faf du Plessis at the age that he is currently towards the end of his career. Yes, I can understand he may be choosing something else over playing for South Africa. But for a guy like Aiden Markram and the guys, those guy type of guys, or Quinton, the country should come first. That's your country is basically what made you known to the rest of the world ultimately. Because if he didn't play for South Africa, if they didn't perform for South Africa, it's very, very unlikely that you would have been picked up in the IPL in the first place. So the opportunities must have come from somewhere, because it's very seldom that unless they've been seen in a major league, like for example the likes of Kolpak signings that maybe went over. Not a lot of them have been picked up by in the IPL. It's mainly international stars that get picked up. It's very seldom that you see a non-international star get picked up in the IPL that is South African.
I mean,
It's highly
Tavish
highly
Tavish
unlikely.
Shamsi
There might be.
Tavish Shamsi played for RCB, and I think he played for a team in the CPL before he played for South Africa. I think Riley Rousseau also played, I think, minimal international cricket before he played a season of the IPL. So, I mean, I guess it's there, but it's probably less for South Africa than for other countries.
Yeah, well, I mean, Riley Rousseau was very good for South Africa before he actually became a global superstar. I mean, South Africa gave him a lot of opportunities in difficult periods. I remember that, and I know a lot of people wanted to see Riley Rousseau back into the side. I feel that some players need to at least show their what they feel for the country first, and if they want to play for South Africa. The way Riley left, and it's only Riley, I'm looking at him separately to the other guys. Riley Rousseau, the way he left, leaves a bitter taste in a lot of players' mouths currently, because a lot of fans backed Riley as the next big thing, as the next AB de Villiers or the next big player in South Africa. He was backed by the coaches, he was backed by the staff, he was backed by his fellow teammates to be that person in one day international cricket. And he just left. There was no conversations. According to Russell Domingo, there was no conversations had with the players, with former teammates. We heard the stories of Kyle Abbott speaking to the entire team, to Hashim Amla, asking their advice and what they thought about it before before he actually made a decision to decide to sign a Goldback deal. According to Russell Domingo, there was no conversation had. The morning of the press conference, he just sent a letter to him and telling him that he's going to sign this contract. So I think that's a little bit disrespectful to the fans and to the public that has supported you so well throughout the years and that has backed you in for so many years. Yes, it's your right to go choose to do so, but at least do it in the right way. I feel. It's my similar criticism when it comes to a guy like Abe de Villiers, and a lot of people might not agree with me, but when Abe de Villiers retired, I felt like it was kind of a slap in the face to South African cricket, in South African cricket fans. He never really gave us an opportunity to give him a proper send off. It was just sudden, and he took to it by doing a video and putting it up on Twitter, and that's how he announced his retirement, which was quite a shock to for as a South African cricket fan when he had the opportunity in Australia to be able to, put up his hand and say, "Look here, bye guys, thanks for to the fans," especially a guy that is seen as big as him to the rest of the world. So they also yes they don't owe the fans anything, but there's just certain things that I feel leaves a bit of taste in the mouth for some. We've got Werner with us. DJ, you can continue.
Yeah, I completely agree with you with about Abe de Villiers. I think I was I was um, I was quite shattered, when Abe de Villiers retired, and I indicated that in an article I wrote for the website recently, um, about Abe de Villiers' retirement. But one other thing that I want to add about Faf du Plessis, and it's an indication of how well some of these players are treated. Because what happens is that you look at how a board treats a player, and you feel like, wow, this is it's terribly unjust, and you can't treat a player of that value in this way. And with CSK, the CEO of the team, Kashi Vishwanath, he just released a video because all the IPL teams announced their retentions. So for CSK, Ravindra Jadeja, MS Dhoni, Moin Ali, and Ruturaj Gaikwad were the four players that were retained. But the CEO of the Chennai Super Kings, he specifically said that we're very grateful to Faf for taking us to the finals in 2018 and obviously 2021, and we're going to go hard after him in the auction. We're going to try to get him back to Chennai. Can you imagine the sort of loyalty that sort of attitude uh, is going to inspire in a player, where you feel like the management has been there for you for 10 years. They've loved you, and now because of a technicality they can't retain you, but they're going to try their hardest to get you back into the setup. How do you think a player feels, when he sees that in a management? But when your country's board says that you can't find a balance and you simply have to play more without being compensated for what the leagues could possibly offer you, then the disappointment is obvious and it's understandable.
Yeah, it's impossible to compete with the IPL's money. So, like, even there's not many organizations or countries with regards to cricket boards that can compete with the IPL's money. And Faf was an amazing captain, my favorite captain of all time. And a lot of people never believe that. And I know maybe it's difficult to rate a relationship with a whole board because the board members change, people leave, CEOs come and they go. So you would have, in that 15 years or however many years you play for your country, you might have seen a change in the boardroom in major positions over that period of time. So it's very difficult to say, oh no, his relationship with CSA is bad, because there's been a change in the presidents, in CEOs, in coaching staff, in so many things. In a difficult period where Faf wasn't backed, basically. He left, he wasn't in the best of form. He came back, he got some form. South Africa backed him as a captain at a time when a lot of people might not have thought he should have been captain. And he proved everybody wrong by doing an excellent job. He also proved everybody wrong by doing an excellent job with the bat. So he that is who Faf du Plessis is. He proves you wrong, generally speaking. That's how it is. But to say, I know that for one thing that South Africa or the fans and everybody backed Faf du Plessis to the end of the world and back. We know he wanted to play in the World Cup. It's not the same situation as AB de Villiers. This is a completely different situation. I don't compare the two. Um, Faf has every right to decide. Look here, if you guys are not going to give me give me at least a T20 crocodile to compensate me for playing these games. Um, it's going to be very difficult for me to give up, a massive contract that's going to actually affect my well-being and affect my standard of living currently. So it's something that really did bother me that we didn't sort it out and we didn't find a way, because we've been talking about it for so long on this channel that we wanted to see Faf in that team. But now that Faf has spoken, we know that what the reason was. And it's shocking that there was no common ground found, or middle ground, as Faf mentioned in his particular in this video. Um, and yes, I understand what you're saying, Aditya, about loyalty and about CSK not being able to train him because of a technicality. I've learned the hard way that you can't always listen to what has been said in the public from a CEO or from an owner and stuff like that, because they're going to say what you want to hear. We'll see in the auction how hard they actually go for Faf. If they're trying to bid until the end and maybe Faf ends up being one of the most expensive players, then but fair enough, then I will we can say they really went hard.
But that's a
But we'll
matter of
see.
purse, right? Because CSK,
Oh, they got
they've
purse.
retained no, they don't.
they, they
No, they
must have
don't. They don't
purse.
have as they don't have. See, they've got 4 players. As a franchise can have 25 players, right? So now they've got 4 players, and to get 21 players, they have 48 crores to spend. So that's about 2.5 crores per player on average. So they don't have that much. And you compare that with Punjab, for example, who've retained 2 players. They've got 72 crores. So I feel like Faf as a top 3 batter, former captain, excellent fielder, and all of that, will have plenty of takers. Plus, there are 2 new teams with full purses. So
Should
that's
have
a separate
retained
issue.
him.
But I mean, I think that's more of a Chennai thing, right? Because you have 2 all-rounders in there with Moin Ali and Jadeja, and they're both ideal for Chennai wickets. MS Dhoni's probably going to play the year and then go, uh, and Ruturaj Gaikwad is probably going to play with Chennai for 10 years. So I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, auction dynamics are complicated like that. But
yeah,
I
it
know
is.
that they'd want to get him. The franchise likes him. He loves the franchise. Obviously, his wife loves the franchise. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, they can't. I don't understand. Like maybe from, are you not allowed to add more money to that pot? Or you're only allowed to spend a certain amount?
Yeah. So if it depends on how many players you retain, you're allowed to retain 4 players, and they've retained 4 players. Um, so yeah, now they'll have to see how it goes because they've probably got a smaller purse than teams that have retained 2 or 3 players.
Mm. Oh well. Doesn't matter whether you win your team a trophy, eh? Twice. Werner, your thoughts on the whole Faf situation and what he said in the news before we go over into the SAA talk?
I was just about to ask if you guys are having a nice conversation. Nah, I'm joking. No, yeah, I understand Faf's perspective on it. I think it's tough if he wasn't um, going to get a contract to play for us in those series leading up to the World Cup and then the World Cup. It would just not make sense for him financially or for his future to suddenly play for us for no real compensation, because not only would he lose out on the money from these competitions, the CPL and the Abu Dhabi T10 and whatever competitions it might be leading up to the World Cup, he might also not be offered those contracts in the future. So you had to think about the next few years as well. If he's still committed to be playing for another 2-3 years cricket to try and make sure he's financially set for the rest of his life, he might not have the opportunity to get similar contracts in the next few years if he doesn't take it now. Because now maybe those teams feel, okay, he's been loyal to us, he's come and played for us, so we'll offer him again the same type of contract next year. So it made sense for me. What I just don't feel too happy about.
You went, your connectivity.
Now,
You're back. You're back.
am I back?
Yeah.
I guess weird. Okay, so what I wanted to say was that's what I want to open that point you made about AB retiring um, through Twitter and through his app, that we didn't get any way to give him a nice send off, say thank you for representing us for all the entertainment. Nobody got to say that. We didn't get to clap him off the field as fans, or whatever the case might be. But that was his decision, and that's his own fault, and we feel a bit begrudged about that. But Faf and Tahir are different situations. Like, both of them still want to play for South Africa, but they're not going to be given that opportunity, it seems. And so it's not like they're saying, okay, no, I'm done and I'm calling it via Twitter. They could still get that opportunity to represent us, and we can give them a proper send off. But now we are not being put in that position. So that I'm not too happy about that, to be honest. I think they both deserve a proper send off. So yeah.
Yeah. A good idea would be, from a Cricket South Africa perspective, is to do a little testimonial match. Maybe it's for the guys that have retired, so that invite fans. Oh, obviously with COVID and everything right now, but the fact that they've never done something like that in the past maybe is weird to me, that they never thought of something like that. They could have had a little fun testimonial six-a-side type of match, or something where players could come and the fans could come and be entertained by the Heroes of Last Time and send off, and they can have little speeches for from the players and stuff like that. It would be a good idea. I don't know. I know a lot of no. I don't think other countries do it, but yeah, I mean, as a fan for the future, that might be a good idea.
Well, no other country has done a 3TC, so we might as well.
When Sachin Tendulkar had announced his retirement, uh, he requested that his last match be played in Bombay. His on his home ground, and his mother watched him live for the first time ever in 24 years of international cricket. She'd never watched him live. That was his last match was the first time she watched him live. And the BCCI made special arrangements, and it became like a more wheelchair friendly sort of environment, and things like that. So I think teams do that, but one thing that I find is important with respect to retirements and giving players send-offs is that the next generation should know what a particular player's contribution has been to South Africa and why a player is revered in the way that he is. So, for example, for a kid born in 2012 who, at the age of like 5 months, probably didn't watch Faf du Plessis' debut test, should at the age of 9 or 10 know that this player held a certain significance in South African cricket history, and therefore this player is important. So that it gives you an understanding of the shoulders you're standing on.
Yeah, it's true. But okay, let's move on. Let's go on to the SAA game. This one to update everybody on what has happened over there. So South Africa were bowled out for 297, and a little gem that I've been speaking about for a long time, and someone that I've always backed on this particular channel, as you guys know, is Marco Jansen, and I've spoken about his batting quality, and he proved it. 70 of 123 balls, 8 4s and 1 6. He showed that what he can do with the bat. I mentioned the story a little earlier on our Q&A, when I was speaking about at the Durban Heat, when I saw him bat and how hard he hit the ball. And you might not look at him and think that he's a batter, but the guy can bat. So put in an excellent batting performance, but he backed it up with the ball as well. He took 2 wickets and for 20 runs with an economy of 2 in 10 overs. And particularly the most important part of this is he's given South Africa some, I wouldn't say light, but hope towards the end of the year, because he obviously took the wicket of Ishan Kishan, which is a big wicket from an India perspective. And I think that's something that we need to look at, that might South Africa need to combat hard and try and bowl India out, if possible, early tomorrow. But I wasn't very happy with the way Bjorn Hendricks bowled. I thought he was very wasteful. And at this point, against the India A side, I expect a guy of Bjorn's quality to be able to not have these blips constantly. He seems to be having blips a lot lately in international cricket. Like, he'll have an amazing spell, and then all of a sudden he will just be completely terrible in a 1 or 2 overs, and then you'll bring it back again afterwards. So I expect a senior player like him to step up and dominate the India A side, because if you can't dominate the India A side, how are you going to dominate against a national team? And then what are you doing in the national setup in the first place? So when senior guys get opportunities, I would like to see them dominate. If they don't dominate in SAA, they shouldn't be in consideration, because then a youngster can do that and struggle against the India A side. You take in someone else's spot, I feel, that can learn more from the situation. And that is honestly how I feel about youngsters and senior players. Like, you giving Peter Malan a chance. He took his chance in the first match. He scored runs. Yes, he didn't in his second time around, in the first innings of this match. But maybe if we get another chance to bat second innings, he'll be able to bat, and do that again. But you need to take opportunities if you're a senior guy. I have nothing against senior guys getting selected, but then they need to take the opportunities, and play and score runs or take wickets. George Linder was also quite good. Unfortunate to not take some wickets. He was very close in a couple of overs. We almost did, and just missed the bat, etc. And yeah, I'm hoping that he can, because for him to get that type of return on a Bloemfontein wicket is pretty interesting. I like to see that, that he can still be effective, and he should be, because he's a test player. He's a Protea player that played in India. He played test matches for South Africa, and he took wickets for South Africa already. So I expect those guys to perform, generally speaking. But I have to take my hats off to Clinton Stearman as well. He bowled well as well, especially he bowls very well with a new ball, Clinton. He's always been like that. He tends to be, in his first spell, he tends to be very, very, very good. And then he kind of falls along the wayside, and then he comes back again later on after some rest. But yeah, some quality players in this SAA setup and this SAA lineup. Werner, let's start with you before we move on to Aditya. I'd like Aditya to give us some insight into some of the batters that are performing quite well at the moment, from India A. and touch on South Africa. But Werner, first and foremost, who stood out to you from South African perspective? Um, uh, were you very impressed with Marco Janssen's performance?
Yes, I was. Very happy to see him get runs with the bat and then come in well with the ball as well, getting those 2 wickets, crucial wickets as well. I thought especially that first wicket he took was a very, very good ball. It would have gotten a lot of batsmen out. Happy with the way he batted. I think he could probably also. I wanted most of his innings. I wanted to tell him, don't let the other guy take a single off the last ball. Keep the farm the strike for the next over. But in the end, Steerman batted so well, it didn't really matter. So it kind of worked out in the end. So good for him, I guess. But he could probably still learn that going on in his career, farming more strike, because obviously in the situation he was still the better batsman. Even if Glenton did that well today, going forward he might get another number 11 that doesn't go as well, or doesn't get away with a few runs, and then the team might miss out on 30-40 runs that they could have scored extra. But yeah, I was generally happy. Not too happy with Bjorn Hendricks. I also said the same thing on Twitter earlier, that I think at 31 he's gotten a lot of opportunities, a lot more than some other guys have gotten. And I would rather see some new guys try it out. Even if they fail, then at least we know. At least if we've given an opportunity for Michael Pretorius to bowl, or we've given an opportunity to Nabe, or given an opportunity to Bartman, then at least we can measure it. And if we then say, okay, we've given them an equal amount of opportunity, and they haven't performed better than Hendricks, then fine. But I think at this stage, he's not really offering enough, and I can't see him ever really making it into our first 11 in the Protea setup. So I want some guys coming into the SAA lineup who really, as you said earlier, dominate.
Have a chance.
And then actually they are so good that we as fans think, okay, they might actually make the 11. Even if this is like injury for one game, they might come in and never lose their spot again because they are that good. That's the type of competition we need right now. And I don't think Hendricks is providing that type of competition we need. I think Steerman is good. He wasn't too good in his first bout, actually. I thought he was same as the last game. He came back better in the second spell. It was a lot better. Also picking up those. Oh well, it was okay. Sorry, it was still part of his first bout today. It was just late in his first bout where he took up those 2 wickets. In the previous game, he wasn't very good in his first bout. He went for a lot of runs, and then in his second bout, he was a lot better. So he needs to make sure that he gets into it a lot earlier, because at this stage between him and Hendricks, we have really been, I want to say, wasting the new ball, and this is really kind of a new ball type of wicket. You really want to make inroads with the new ball, make sure you keep the batsman on toes. We've seen too many deliveries going down the leg side, being flicked easy off the hips for 4, bullet 4 on the pads, flicked through mid-wicket for 4. What I've also didn't like was all the no balls. I don't understand. That is a simple thing to rectify. And at this level, when you are at franchise level, you already shouldn't be bowling no balls anymore. Coming up to SAA level, there is no excuse to still be bowling these many no balls. It's just not right. It shouldn't be happening at all. Even if you think, no, there's no third umpire checking me, umpires are still good enough to see if you stepped over the line.
Especially by the margin that they did.
Yeah, huge no balls. It was really poor. So yeah, but George Linder bowled well as well. But unlucky. I think there was 2 drop catches of his bowling specifically. So we could have been in a lot better position at the end of the day. India, it could have been 7 down. There are 3 proper number 11s, you could say, as batsmen that won't probably contribute a lot on most days. So we could have had them in real trouble, probably bundled them out tomorrow in the first hour. But now they still have 2 very good batsmen at the crease who both should have been gone. So obviously, as the saying goes, catches win matches. So that those were 2 crucial drops, and that could have really turned the match in our favor. But as it stands, it's probably still on equal footing. But obviously, with Hanama Vuharidas and Safras Khan, they could still make plenty of runs. Both are very, very good batsmen, especially Vihari, who had that exceptional knock in Australia. And I was personally surprised that he isn't playing against New Zealand. But seeing as he is here now, that it does give him some good preparation, some game time. I'm sure he will try and make as good use of it as he can and bat as long as he can tomorrow.
Aditya, take us home.
Yeah, I thought the Indian batting performance was pretty hot and cold. It's disappointing to see Shaw make another 40 and get out in that same fashion. With Pamela bowling and Kashila catching in both Test matches. So I think um, that was unfortunate. Same with Ishan Kishan. Definitely want him to make more than 49 because it looks like they got set and then they got out. And you don't want to see that. With Hanuma Vihari, very good batsman. He's got international exposure and he played a heroic part in saving that game in Sydney, which India could very well have lost. And since then, it's been a difficult journey for him because he was injured through the course of that Test match and has been recovering ever since. But the reason that he's playing in the A team was to get him acclimated to South African conditions, uh, which is why he wasn't selected for the New Zealand tour. But I think all in all, I'd like to see Sarfaraz Khan and Hanuma Vihari score some big runs tomorrow. And we'll see how it goes. But credit to South Africa. I think Marco Jansen is having a fantastic game, being 70 not out in the first innings and then bowling the way that he has been in India's first innings has been heartening to see. So Marco Jansen is really getting better.
So, guys, yeah, we're going to be talking about the rest of the match obviously tomorrow. We'll do another show on this. And thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to smash that like button, comment and share, and subscribe. Click that notification bell for all future videos as well. The link is in the description also for you guys to subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. It's 100% free every single day in your inbox. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care.